Hey, welcome everyone to Friendship Smart again. And instead of Ali being in the driver's seat today, I am in the driver's seat and I have a very special friend with me today. Her name's Renee and she has 2 children. She's been on the Friendship Smart journey with me and she's been talking about Friendship Smart in her home with her kids. And I want her to download with us a little bit of the goss, a little bit of what's been happening behind the scenes in her home. And I might even find out a few things that I didn't know. I don't know. Renee, how old are your kids?
Well, I have a son who's 9, a year 4.
He's a champion.
Chest puffing kind of year, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And I have a daughter who's 11 and a half, might I add.
Yes,
and a half.
and a
Very
half.
important when you're a tween to add the half.
Yeah.
Year 6. And she's all things vibing tweens.
I know. And you text me the other night and she was at Westfield with her handbag shopping.
Yep.
That's such an 11 and a half year old.
Absolutely.
I love it.
So much fun.
Yeah.
They're fabulous.
Tell me, the first time that your daughter particularly saw the Friendship Smart shapes, how did that look for her and what was her response?
Look, I can't say she saw it.
Okay.
Well, she did. I was flying down the highway. Mum, we're on a mission.
Yeah.
We're taxi season. So any other mums out there, taxi season. And look, every afternoon there's something new that comes out in friendships.
Yeah.
And so it was a case of going, okay, I need to be able to give my kids, not just my daughter, but my son also, in these years, they need something to be able to really hang on. So hands on the steering wheel, safety first, making a triangle, talking to them about the 3 friendship elements, safety, chemistry and effort.
So you literally made a triangle on the
Absolutely. Like
on
driving
the steering wheel?
on the highway, making a triangle.
Did they
on the
have their
steering-
seatbelts on? Tell me
Absolutely.
they had their, okay, good.
Safety first. Come on, Michelle. Look, honestly, it was a case of just saying to them, there are 3 elements for good quality friendships, safety, chemistry and effort. That was the intro.
Yeah.
That was the intro, saying that, these elements are on a bit of a sliding scale.
That's exactly
that 0 to 10
Yes.
for each of those elements and going, okay, so what's happening in your friendship? Where would you place this friendship or what's happened today, the kerfuffle that happened on that Tuesday?
Yeah.
Where would you place safety? Where would you place chemistry? Where would you place effort?
Love it.
And then the discussion around that for both of them. I mean, my son's sitting in the back, sort of eavesdropping, like listening on.
Yeah,
so I
and they
think
learn.
he's learned by default just listening to those conversations.
Yeah.
And being able to unpack, I suppose, what's happening in the context of that framework has made a very big difference for both of them.
And kids don't need like a rubric, do they? I mean, they know when something's below a 5 and not feeling right.
Yeah.
They do. They have that sort of gut check where they go, this is just not feeling right.
Yeah, and I think for my daughter in particular, she's been able to, it's empowered her to be able to go, okay, so safety's low.
Yeah.
Effort's pretty low, but chemistry is really high, Mum.
Yeah.
I like this girl. We click, we get along. So where does that fit?
Yeah.
And her to be able to walk through that journey and go, okay, well, we do click and I really do like her, but I'm not sure that I can fully trust her.
Yeah.
And that might be the level of the friendship. That's all that's there because safety's not there enough for her to be able to go deep in that friendship.
Gosh,
And that's
good.
okay.
Yeah, and we've talked a lot about
Yeah.
this, hey, and that's being able to identify what it is and move towards acceptance as that as quickly as possible. And I don't know if I've said this on this podcast yet, but the way these 3 work together is safety is that element that always needs to stay visible, but it's safety is the foundation. It gathers momentum through chemistry and it's maintained through effort.
Yeah.
And so that's what I want kids to know is that those 3 work together and they should work in that format, in that order.
I think for my son, though, I think probably what he's learnt the most is that friendships flex. Like we're talking year 4 boys, right?
I love
it's
it.
Soccer, drama, it's, friendship alliances.
Yeah.
And for him to understand that friendships can actually flex, and that might flex from week to week, day to day. Sometimes it's hour to hour in school,
Yeah.
And understanding that has really helped him to be able to move through a drama or a kerfuffle or a disagreement and be able to move through that quicker because then he can get to the facts and unpack and go, actually, in that moment, chemistry was just a bit low. Yeah. There's still safety and effort that's happening in that friendship, but our chemistry's dropped for a bit.
And I notice with boys too, they gather in packs a lot more, hey, and then there's a lot of competition within those larger groups, which can be a lot for boys sometimes. And the safety blows out really quickly. but they're quite soft too, and they can repair really quickly as well. So they have this big fluctuation as well, back and forward. So it's really interesting. What's one of the main differences you notice between your boys and your boy and your girl with their relationships?
I think very much with the boys it is, it could be fire and ice sometimes.
Yeah.
They get over it a bit quicker and they do move through it, exactly like you said.
Yeah.
For the girls, sometimes it can wound a bit deeper. However, I will just preface that by saying that, our boys do feel deep.
They do.
My boy does.
Yeah.
And my emotions can run high.
Yeah.
And on the surface, it can look like they just come in and out of it, but sometimes those things actually do sit a little deeper sometimes.
100%. And research is telling us that our boys are struggling just as much with their relationships as their girls. And what I don't want to see is our boys grow up and get left out of the relationship conversation, because then what happens in their marriages, we've got their partners or their wives carrying the brunt of the emotional work in a relationship, and our boys being left without the skills that they needed. And I think too often times that's been the case.
Yeah. Look, I'll say in our house, we're not by any means proficient in Friendship Smart. Honestly, thank you. Thank you for writing this book, because it really has been an anchor in our home. And it's been the very catalyst for me to become more intentional in what I drip feed in my language with my kids. We're having those car conversations. We're having the bedtime chats. Yeah. But I'm being intentional with noticing safety, noticing chemistry, noticing effort. And so we've actually got that language happening in our home. Mm-hmm. And I get to shift from being the spoon feeder of, okay, what are we going to do now? And helping them through looping that emotion around and around to them actually being in the driver's seat. And them being the ones who get to navigate their next best step in that conversation
that's it.
Or in that relationship. Yeah. And I get to be the coach. I get to be the guide.
That's it.
And we move through the emotion. Like I said, we move through the emotion so much quicker.
Yeah.
And then we can land on, okay, what do we do next?
And it's discussion, not directives, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And without the tools that really relate to kids and without those visuals, you don't get to be that coach. Yeah. And I hope did you find the load zones helpful too?
Absolutely.
Everyone who's listening, chapter, I think it's 4 on reciprocity, there's the 3 load zones in friendships, and they're equally as helpful. They really are. But we'll get to that in another podcast. But we'll wrap up now. But thank you, everyone, for joining me on the Friendship Smart journey. You can get your copy of Friendship Smart on my website or wherever you want to buy a book, to be honest with you. And if you want to join the Friendship Smart tour, you can. There'll be a tour for parents and then a tour coming for your kids. Appreciate you all investing in your kids now, because we want to leave them with a relational legacy.